Hi guys, I'm Shmee. Hello and welcome back to the channel where you're joining me for the first video ever on the channel to start here at my new garage at the Shmuseum. And what an exciting day it is. Today it is the long-awaited collection day of my new Mercedes-AMG GT Black Series. We're going to be going to pick up the Batmobile, currently in the graphite grey Magno, but remember there will be some changes coming. So we're going to head over with the GT R Pro and with the GT R Roadster to go to Mercedes-Benz Brentford to have the three different derivatives of the hardcore AMG GTs together to finally pick up this car that we've been waiting for years to bring it back home here to the garage. Believe me, I would have loved to have had my other Black Series car for the occasion. The SLS AMG Black Series will be back very soon, just the last few parts to get everything up and running, and then in the not too distant future, we'll get the two Black Series cars together. Today though, we are going to take both of these two to make the trio of my AMG GTs. Remember, I had the original GT R, the beast of the black hell as we called it, enjoyed that an awful lot, changed it up for the GT R Pro, which added a little bit more track prowess, retaining that 585 horsepower cross-plane crank twin turbo V8. We have the same engine in the GT R Roadster that I've used more recently for a pretty big road trip and intend to enjoy a lot more going forwards. I think this might be one of the last drives for the Pro, to be completely honest, as the Black Series arrives, taking up the power, adding even more aero. In fact, the new flat plane crank V8, which now has 730 horsepower, and from the one or two occasions when I've already been able to get behind the wheel, it is really pretty impressive and looks insane. The car at the moment is in graphite grey Magno. As I said, it's going to be going into a brighter colour to fit more in theme with the other Shmeemobiles, but there were only limited options available from the factory. Today though, it's going to look mega. So let's get both of these started, get them on outside, and head over to the dealer to go get the GT Black Series. If you're wondering about the plates that are going to go onto the new car, I always try and find a reason for the numbers on the different registrations of the Shmeemobiles. For example, the Ford GT wears 66 after that famous 1966 24 Hours of Le Mans win for the GT40s. The Senna is number 12. That was Ayrton Senna's Formula One racing number the year he won the first F1 World Championship before taking the number 1 from there on. We've got the GT8 on 16, which was the year that Aston Martin won the World Endurance Championship with the GT8 GTE. We've got the 63 on the G63, a few others as well. These two never completely connected, I'm not going to lie. We've got the 62 on the SLS Black Series because of its 6.2 V8, and I've gone for 61 on the GT Black Series because if you really clutch at straws, a 61 looks a little bit like a G and a T, but that is a bit of a stretch. I know it also fits nicely into the lineup to have all of the cars with very similar numbers on them at the end of the day. Right, let's get these out. It is not exactly the most exciting drive in the world as we sit here in a traffic jam on London's North Circular as we make our way around from the Shmuseum to the dealership, following the GT R Roadster at the moment with the roof down because thankfully the weather is on side today, which is always a delight for a new car collection day. And being British, we have to talk about it always. Anyway, both of these cars originally were supplied at Mercedes-Benz Brentford. In fact, I got my first AMG GT R, the beast of the black hell with the fully blacked out look, from the dealership about 4 years ago now. When I collected the G63, for a change we picked that up from Mercedes-Benz HQ in Milton Keynes. The Pro is nearing 2 years old since I collected it from Brentford. Then I picked up the SLS Black Series, which I actually got from Schalklisse near to Munich in Germany, trailered it back with the G63 to then import it, and about 9 months ago collected the GT R Roadster to make this family of AMGs. Of course, the original GT R departed when this arrived, and this is probably going to depart, of course, because it's the track-focused version, and the Black Series is, I don't even know, part of me would love to keep them all, but it doesn't make sense to have 2 of these, let alone 3, so the man maths isn't really working on that one. Anyway, we will make our way around, hopefully, to the dealer where the car is awaiting. I've dealt with all of the paperwork in advance, all of the payment side of things, insurance, registration, documents, all digitally signed because of the way things have evolved over the last year or so. So that means this should be a pretty swift process to pick up this car, which has been plagued by some various delays over the last 9 months, from parts shortages to all sorts of different things. But thankfully, it's here now, it's ready. I got the phone call, I was buzzing with excitement, and now even more so to finally go and pick it up, and then to get it together with the SLS in due course. But this is just the start, because this GT Black Series is going to be mixed up a little bit, and it's got a long and enjoyable lifetime ahead of it, being driven as a car like this should. Anyway, we're only about 10 minutes away now, so the excitement is really starting to become very real. We are arriving then. I can't see the car from outside, so it must be tucked away indoors, but this is the temporary showroom, we could say. The new one, purpose-built showroom, is currently in final parts of the process, so let's get these parked and then we'll go have a look inside. The two cars we've driven over with are both parked exactly where they were on their respective collection days. The Pro before the Roadster. The new car though is inside, so we're going to head on in and go and take a look at this. Rules are rules. To go inside, mask must go on, but let's head through, and in the meantime we've also got a new design in the Cheers by Shmee 150 shop. Special limited edition design, both the current colour of the GT Black Series and the future colour of it, plus they're limited. They'll have one of 150. That will actually be printed on the back. Look at this. Here's the car. The GT Black Series. Welcome Shmee 150 for the collection of your new Mercedes-AMG GT Black Series. Let's go and have a quick sneak peek of this under here. Let's lift up the cover. Oh yes, that is the Batmobile. Is this mine? Okay, we'll get this revealed in just a moment then. Get the covers pulled off. It's time to do this then. The full reveal of a car that I think we've all been waiting a long time to see. The AMG GT Black Series. Let's do this. Pull the cover off. What a thing. And look at the size of the wing back here. To even get the cover off it takes an age. That is a monster. Graphite grey Magno. So this almost black, satin black, Batmobile-esque spec. We've got all of the gloss carbon fibre, the gigantic spoiler, the active flap in the centre, the new Black Series badge, the gloss black actually that you have for the boot lid section, new style of the tailpipes there on the carbon fibre diffuser, new wheels, we've got the Cup 2R tyres, super sticky rubber, even more for lap times. This will of course be doing some track sessions to represent the new engine. You've got the red surround here on the V8 badging, the V8 bi-turbo, that's 730 horsepower. And look at all of this up front, look at all of the crazy aero here, the carbon that comes obviously from the cooling radiators up front, the louvres over on the wings, the canards, the front splitter, and you have the extra splitter that pulls out at the front as well when you want to make it even more focused. This is even larger for more cooling. This looks mad. This car is absolutely mental. I now have the keys for the car. Everything is done. These are of course the former Mercedes style because it's based on the AMG GT, the final special edition. There weren't very many things that you could actually configure on the GT Black Series. You could choose here between 8 different exterior colours, 2 interior stitches, and basically if you have the track spec or the comfort spec. That was it. Of course I went track spec. It's a race car for crying out loud. So let's have a quick look inside here where we have all the Alcantara with the grey stitch that you can see, for example, around the door. We've got the seat protectors in at the moment. Pull those off quickly and you can see you've got the double grey stripe as well running through the centre of the bucket seats. That's cool with the cage. In fact, I want to come around to open the boot as well. Have a look at this back in here. We've got the cage. It comes with a car cover, which is nice. It comes with the fire extinguisher and the harnesses as well, all of which you can choose to have fitted. I haven't had them fitted yet because step one is to use it as a road car. We'll have that done before it's time to go on the track. Titanium cage, just like in the GT R Pro. And then you have these slightly different design here. You have these struts because the wing has so much downforce that to hold it through the boot, it has to have those additional supports through this, which is all carbon fibre in here as well. Oh, we've got the grab handle here to pull it down because you've got multi-layered wings. You've got like this ducktail wing, the lower wing, and then the active aero upper wing. That's a little bit crazy. Boom, sounds good. I think we need to take a look as well at the engine of this. So on the Black Series, it's a double pull of the lever down here. Come round, have a look at this. Let's see whose name is on the plaque on my engine bay. You get the black plaque there. Awesome. Well, thank you, Matthias, for putting together the engine here. One man, one engine, AMG in Affalterbach. That's cool. serious power plant. Obviously you can't see too much. Turbo sitting in the hot V on the engine, which runs behind the front axle, mid-engine setup. But it's so awesome to be able to see all of this as well, the aero here for all of the cooling and the carbon fiber. This is going to be a mental car to drive. This is going to be so crazy. Right, close it back down. Boom. I guess it's going to be time to take it out in a moment. It's time to take the car outside so we can have a listen to the new engine. Let's hear it. It's not the loudest thing in the world, but we might be able to do something with that. The Black Plane Crank V8, different sound to it than the other AMGs. So let's get this out into the sunshine. Look at that on the move. This car is epically cool. I love it. Here we are then, in the car for the first time. Let me start it up. All right. Door closes. That's one of the things about AMG GTs. You've always got to watch for the doors. Okay. This is all obviously very familiar. I've driven more than one AMG GT Black Series, a couple at the media drive. As we head on out, a huge thanks to the team here at Mercedes-Benz Brentford, who have been incredibly helpful, as always. I also drove my friend Rana's car in London quite recently. How mad is this in front of me? The Pro and the Roadster. We've got Tom and Puppy here today who are driving them, and there'll be more of all of this on the Shmuseum channel when we've got this car back. But here we are. GT Black Series. No rear wheel steering on this car like those two to save a little bit of weight. Slightly different setup. Different interior, different door cards, no cover over the cup holder compartment in the centre, a few things on the passenger seat to show you through as well. Obviously full Alcantara across the dashboard, all around the carbon trims. But yeah, here we go, 23 miles on the clock. This is new car, long awaited new car, and it looks insane being sat inside here, looking out in the mirrors over the satin black and the bonnets is, well, this is crazy. The thing, however, with a brand new car and with a brand new engine is to follow the breaking in instructions. And I know it is not the most exciting thing in the world to follow what it suggests, but in these cars from AMG, you literally have a sticker on the windscreen in front of you, which tells you what you should and shouldn't do. For example, do not do full load operation, no kick down, don't go over 4,500 RPM, don't go over a maximum speed of 85 miles an hour, which is 140 kilometers an hour for the first 1,000 miles or 1,500 kilometers, which, as I said, is not the most exciting thing, but it does help with the longevity of the engine, following what it suggests to bed it in properly. And I know I'm going to be keeping this car for the very long haul, so I want to make sure I do it properly. So this is going to be quite a gentle drive in comfort mode, in automatic, taking it easily for the time being. We will get there in due course. I will try and get these miles done as quickly as we can, but this is totally surreal right now. Following the Pro and the Roadster, looking over this bonnet, this massively long bonnet, at these cars together. This is awesome. This is just awesome. What a day. And thankfully, with the weather holding back on side, because this year here in the UK has not gone well in terms of the weather. Wow. It hasn't quite hit home that it's actually here and I'm driving it.
That's what I see when I look in the rearview mirror.
Yes, exactly. This thing just looks mad.
I like it even more.
Yes, Tom up front at the wheel of the Pro. It's really interesting having gone directly from the GT R Pro into the GT Black Series. The first time I've ever, I guess, driven them back to back. The Pro was always quite a misunderstood car because it was so track focused, like a Visac package GT3 RS or something, but a lot of people didn't quite understand where it fit into the lineup. But driving this, it's very interesting what's similar and what's different. Of course, it's exactly the same seating position, the same carbon fiber bucket seats, the same feeling that you're right back over towards the rear axle, the same very long bonnet out in front of you, even the same 7-speed dual clutch transmission, but a very different steering feel without the rear wheel steering, and engine feel, obviously, from the sound and the even just the way it almost delivers power. And I know obviously we're driving very slowly, so it's quite a different concept, but it doesn't stop-start quite so frequently. It does stop-start, but nowhere nearly as often as those cars do, I've noticed initially. Obviously, the controls and technology and all of that is exactly the same. It doesn't tinker and make noises in the same way that the Pro does, and because the suspension is adaptive, it's in a soft comfort mode, or you can put it into Sport or Sport Plus, which the Pro can't do. You have to manually adjust the settings in the bonnet or in the boot at the back. Whereas this, you just press a button. So it's quite interesting to see how these two cars fit, that's actually perhaps even more track orientated in terms of where it would sit on a spider diagram. It doesn't quite have the performance of this, but sits in a completely different niche. Fascinating. There we go. Stop start now. It's not a very loud car, this. The engine is really muted. OPFs, the new generation, filters, it sounds very disappointing. One thing that has changed a lot, though, from the initial cars that we drove, is that they've dialed back the engine sound that you hear through the speakers. It's nowhere nearly as intrusive into the cabin as it was on the first cars, which I guess is a result of the feedback that was given on those cars in the first test drives, where it was really, when you're driving the car, all you hear inside it. And now, thankfully, it's just not so much. I guess it makes it quieter because obviously there's not much sound outside to begin with. But anyway, it's one of those things that we can look to work on during a visit to go see my friends at Opus at the Nurburgring at some point in time. So let's see what happens on that front. I know I say that often, but maybe we'll be taking the Roadster to get its bucket seats fitted, which are over there with Opus still, because on the trip with that car our timings didn't add up because it was a holiday weekend in Germany, so we weren't able to do anything. We'll get that over for the seats and get this over when it's a different colour for who knows what. At least we are starting to flow a touch more. Now you can pop the car up into some of the slightly sportier modes, and you can press the button, he says, for the exhaust here as well, but obviously still need to keep the revs down. It's such a higher pitched engine note than the other AMGs. You still hear a little bit of the tinkering of the cage and things going behind, and the wing is absurd. This is actually the first time I've driven a GT Black Series on the road more than about 30 miles an hour in the centre of London, just to go around town, back the way we came in fact. It's a crazy thing to be driving. This next to the Senna, when we get it back to the Shmuseum, is going to look nuts. These two wings side by side, we'll get to see which one's actually taller. So I have a feeling this one might be, just because the car's taller and wings are limited by regulations to be within the bodywork and the height of the car, so that actually changes things a little bit. But I guess we'll find out quite shortly. We've made it back to the garage. The GT Black Series is here for the first time, looking epic. We've kind of dumped the cars though. We've got the GT R Pro and the GT R Roadster a little bit sporadic because we will do a few photos, but I'm not holding the camera at the moment because there is something I'd like to demonstrate with this car as I learn how to do this. Now, if you look at the GT R Pro, the front of that car has those motorsport struts that basically support the lower splitter. The GT Black Series dials that up even further with an extendable front splitter and then has some really cool supports to hold it in place. And I've driven the car on track with this already done, but I've not done the full process myself. So we're going to kind of learn how exactly you do this. The first part of it is that underneath here, there are two catches, he says. There's one, there's the other, and that pulls out about 5 centimeters. That's out. It also gets a little bit lower underneath as well. Then you've got these distinct holes, which are where these go, he says. Let's get this opened up. And you have these two cables, which you feed in at the top here. And then I think you just screw that in, and you've got the ability to tighten this up a little bit more as well. And that comes down like that. Exactly the same over on the other side. This is quite a complicated car, I'm not going to lie, because this is only part of what you can do with it. We're going to get this all the way down. That's pretty cool. That looks mega, actually, at the front of it, to match, obviously, with the multi-layered rear wing. So that's for track use only. Obviously, you lower your ground clearance, but you get a lot more downforce by extending that front splitter. But then also here, we've got the instruction book and quick start guide and some batteries for the keys in this, which I just opened. You get the spare Affalterbach crest, the key back, always nice. One of them has that, which is the one I tend to keep locked away at home. We've got the locking wheel nuts, and we've got this box, which is a bit of a surprise. This contains the camber adjustment plates. So we're currently in the softest setting, but you manually install the different thicknesses of the plates, and you can change the ride quality of the GT Black Series. So I suppose in future we'll be giving those a run, setting it up right when the time comes to take this car over to the Nurburgring, which will hopefully be in the not too distant future. All I know is that having a GT Black Series here in the garage at long last is a little bit surreal. How cool is this view then? The three cars posed for a photograph, the Black Series flanked by the two AMG GTRs. Technically it is just GT Black Series, but a lot of people seem to call it the GT R Black Series, but it's the Black Series model of the AMG GT family. Either way, the three, I think we can say flagship models of the AMG GT family, but all quite different when you start to look at them. The Roadster is limited to 750 cars, but shares the same front end as the coupe, so the regular AMG GT R appearance. The Pro, again, limited to 750, but dialed it up further with the extended spoiler, with those supports, with the carbon fiber flicks running around the side, with these cut-out louvres on the wings. But then the Black Series takes it up a huge notch further. Look at the opening size of the front grille, based around the same initial shape, but with this much larger, much taller, much wider overall effect, the additional cooling through the bonnet, all of the different openings, the integrated louvres that it has on the panels across the wings as well, just a touch wider with these extra parts that you have here around the wheels, and of course with these tyres. And one special feature about the tyres, if I can find it, might have been the wrong way round and just down towards the bottom, but I want to show you clearly if we can find one of these. Here, look at this. It's got a Black Series graphic on the specific Cup 2R tyres. How cool is that as a little detail on this mad thing? And then yes, at the back, it's not the same at all. The GT R Roadster has a slightly longer wing than the regular GTR. Then the Pro adds this gurney flap at the back of it, just a small subtle change, and the aero blades around the bumper. But then this is a whole world of crazy. This is a significant increase in aerodynamics and a much larger wing and a totally different exhaust setup to the way these two have it, with the central tailpipe and the additional side pipes through the diffuser as well, now just having the twin round exhausts on either side. You might also have noticed I've actually swapped the plates. I've popped my signature plates with the quotes on them, both front and rear, so just had to remove the original ones to change those over. I think it looks a little bit cleaner. And then we've got that mega view. A funny thing here at the Shmuseum is how quickly time completely disappears. We've been taking a few more photos with the GTBS and planning all sorts of things for the Shmuseum channel, where the team and myself are bringing you along for the transformation of this space into a dream garage. And in fact, we've had quite a few things that have changed already. We've had some special visitors, some old friends. We've installed the C-Tech ChargeStorm Connected 2 EV charger, which will completely change my experience living with the Taycan, and acquired plenty of things and some memorabilia through eBay, which are going to adorn the walls. Some very special items to all be revealed soon as well. For the time being, we have parked up the GT Black Series alongside the two AMG GTRs on what we normally call the storage side of the garage, with that side being more the museum, where it will end up in future on display with lots of things around it. But just here for the time being, as we've got a lot to get up to with it. But one question I'm sure some of you might be wondering about this car is, why have I driven it before we've done any PPF, the paint protection film, which I nearly always do on my cars. In fact, of the cars that are here, we've got full coverage PPF on all four of those. On this side, the G63 has topaz skin. The Heritage RS doesn't, but I might actually get some PPF on it. The Yaris, of course, has the rally livery. We've got front-end PPF on the M3, full coverage on the GTR Pro, and front-end on the GTR Roadster. So on this car, I have just braved it for a moment. Of course, the paint itself is completely irrelevant, given that it's actually going to be resprayed, so there is totally no point at all. You can get satin paint protection film, Topaz can do that, but what would be the point if after 1,000 or 2,000 miles or so, it's going to be a completely different colour? The thing I am slightly worried about are the carbon parts and the gloss black parts. So for example, the carbon splitter, obviously the extended part doesn't matter. In fact, you probably couldn't even do that because it wouldn't be able to slide back under. But this gloss black part here, the flick around the side, the gurney flap that you have here for the cooling air that comes out, even the carbon fibre that you have there on the bonnet, the door mirrors, those are vulnerable, the side skirts, and even perhaps the lead edges of the various wings, because you can get stones in the airflow that fly over the car and could potentially damage this, and obviously we don't want to have to do any re-lacquering if that isn't required. So before doing too many miles with this car, I will get some paint protection film installed at Topaz on those various parts. That might even be over on the Shmuseum channel as well. If you aren't already subscribed over there, do go and check it out. But I would love to get the regular GTR, albeit the Roadster, the GTR Pro and the GT Black Series out for a drive, let's say on a racetrack together, to get a back-to-back-to-back comparison, to really experience the differences. Although, as I said, the Pro might be heading off fairly soon. We'll have to see exactly what happens. The other thing that will be mega is to get this car with the SLS Black Series, and that should also happen before too long. For now though, as you can probably tell, I am totally exhausted as always. Do go check out the Shmuseum channel for more on what's happening here behind the scenes, the evolution, we could say, of the Shmuseum. But for today, a big thanks to everybody at Mercedes-Benz Brentford and Mercedes-AMG. I've been waiting for this car for quite some time, but this really begins the adventure. Thank you as always to you guys. Without your support, it wouldn't be possible. It is hugely appreciated, but that is it for this time, and I'll see you again very soon. Cheers.